What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news. We keep you up to date and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Now, we talk about the border a lot, the border crisis that we have going on. We talk about all kinds of different aspects of going on, you know, everything going on with Biden to what's going on in Texas with their laws, with them trying to arrest illegals and deport them from Texas, which there was a big old spat over that between the federal government and Texas. You know, the federal government trying to say, oh, you're trying to supersede our authority and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? If the federal government was doing their damn job, then Texas wouldn't have to do this. Yeah, they're trying to protect their citizens. That's a lot better than what Biden is doing with American citizens by allowing all these criminals to pour into our country. And I say criminals, but that I'm not talking about every single person that comes across the border. Obviously, I'm talking about that the Biden administration doesn't vet these people and they're allowing criminals to come into this country. And the main reason for why we vet these people and why we want to know who is coming into our country is for this reason right here.
On two Jordanian nationals in America illegally trying to enter the Marine Corps base at Quantico. It happened earlier this month. And according to a spokesman for the base, those two illegals drove up to a gate in a box truck and said they were making a delivery to a post office. They ignored the direction of military officers to stop and were then arrested. The Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, the director for them, it confirmed to Fox that they are both in custody now and going through removal proceedings. The Pentagon and the White House not giving us much.
Okay, so that's not something that we talk about a whole hell of a lot. Terrorist threats, right? Like 9/11. I don't know if anybody out there remembers 9/11, but there was like, what, 20-something people involved with that. It was either 20 or 40. I don't remember exactly. By God, that was 23 years ago, for goodness sake. So there was a lot of people involved in that. And they were allowed to come into this country. They weren't vetted. And they were allowed because this is the United States, the land of the free, the home of the idiots these days, it seems like. And they were allowed to carry out a terrorist action that killed over 3,000 people with one single strike. Of course, it was multiple strikes, but it was, 3,000 people technically in one single strike, or two strikes, sorry. But you get the picture here. And now we've had to go through hell as American citizens at airports and whatnot because of that. We've had our freedoms taken away, right? We have to get searched. We have to take off our shoes at the airport. We also now have government spying on us because, the big bad terrorists out there are trying to kill the country. So now we have to spy on our own citizens to stop that terrorist threat. We have to go into foreign nations and destroy terrorist organizations and then do nation building. And we have to be the freaking world police because of a terrorist threat. Yeah. This is getting out of control, and with the Biden administration just allowing anybody and everybody to pour across the southern border is inviting these terrorists to come into this country, for God's sakes.
And now that it's public, and the administration is now having to acknowledge this seemingly did in fact happen. So we have these Jordanians who, are going into a military base and they're trying to lie in order to get on the base. So what's going on there? But what's really going on, the administration doesn't want the American people to know. Bill Malugin, who obviously does great reporting for Fox, Bill yesterday tried to do a Freedom of Information Act request to say, hey, what are the nationalities of all the people that have come from terrorist-sponsored state countries? And the administration said, we can't do that. We can't give you that information. I've sent a letter to them asking for information on nationalities, and they said, we'll come brief you. We'll do it, in skip. They haven't done that yet. We're pushing on them again. We're sending a letter today.
Why not? Why won't they do
that
it?
Information. They say that somehow it's going to reveal personal information that would endanger people or somehow create national security problem. That's bogus. What they really don't want is mud on their face, because we now have a significant knowledge of people coming from all over the world.
That should enrage every single person in this country. They're more worried about their reputation because there's an election coming up than countering terrorist threats that we have in this country, stopping the terrorists from coming into this country. This is just outright insanity, if you ask me. Why are they doing this? What is the end game with allowing all these criminals to pour into our country Right. Like I said earlier, not everybody that comes across that southern border is a criminal, but not everybody that comes across that southern border just wants to come here for a better life to integrate into our society. No, that can't be it. The cartels operate with impunity across that southern border, and now we have this.
While we know 27,500 Chinese nationals have come in the first 6 months of this year, and that is endangering our country.
I want to support what you're saying on the screen now. I'm going to ask my team to put up what Customs and Border Protection's latest numbers show. The number of suspected terrorists crossing illegally has spiked by more than 2,500% from the Trump to Biden administrations. 14 people under Trump. Excuse me, let's go back to that. I really want to look at that screen because to see the difference between their leadership is worth it. Look at that. I mean, Congressman, 14 to 367 suspected terrorists at the southern border. That is an explosion of danger.
And it's an explosion in danger of that category that you just described that I was talking about, as well as the Chinese nationals. That's gone from a few hundred to 27,000. We only had 23,000 all of last year. The word is out around the world. If you are dangerous, if you're from a dangerous country, come to America. The Biden administration will let you in. And guess what? When they parole dangerous people in like they did this last year, Laken Riley gets killed. We have a situation where in Kinney County, Texas, in 2021, there were 150 crimes reported. Last year, 6,700 crimes reported. Our counties are dealing with it. Our people are dealing with it. We need to change this policy, which means we've got to get the elections this November and elect President Trump and elect Republicans in the House and the Senate. But I'm really frustrated at my Republican colleagues for not using the power of the purse to force this administration to stop endangering the people. We've got to assert Congress's power again instead of letting the president roll over the Constitution and the security of the American people.
That's an insane, stark difference between Trump and Biden. If this doesn't concern anybody and everybody, if people are still willing to vote for Joe Biden after seeing this information, I'm sorry, but you have a derangement problem. You need to wake up and see exactly what the Biden administration is doing to this country. They always talk about Trump. He's the big bad threat. He's going to destroy democracy and all this other BS, but not like Joe Biden is doing. He is just running rampant, doing whatever the hell he wants to do, defying Congress oversight, defying the Supreme Courts, just absolutely destroying norms in this country. And when I say destroy, I'm being hyperbolic. He's not physically destroying this country, but he's destroying everything that we've built up. The economy is tanking. Our border is non-existent. People are at each other's throats. And why? Because the corporate press, the mainstream media, and the elites, the Democrats, they're all pushing this narrative. Oh, we have to let these people come across the border. We have to let trans women go into women's bathrooms. We have to. No, I'm sorry. Why are we breaking societal norms to allow delusional, deranged people to just do whatever the hell they want to do? So why do we even have laws in this country if that is the case? Laws discriminate against criminals. We have to have law and order. We have to have constraints on society, for God's sakes. Why do these people not understand this? They just want everybody to be able to run rampant and do whatever the hell they want to do. But you know what happens when that happens? Chaos. Nations fall apart. Economies break down. Society breaks down. And we get some sort of apocalypse of people just going at each other's throats because the government doesn't do anything about it. They're just letting people run rampant. We can't have it. We've got to stand up and push back and say, no, this needs to stop. We can't allow this. It's destroying the country. It's destroying discourse in this country. We can't even have civilized debates anymore. It's outright insane. And these people are pushing this narrative that is pushing us in that direction. For God's sakes, look at people on Twitter. They're just going at each other's throats constantly. Nobody can seem to agree on anything, right? Like we can't even agree on facts anymore, for goodness sakes.
Look, I've heard you express it with me time and time again, and you were kind of pushing and leading from behind, if you will, on trying to get them to do more, even in your own party. I want to just hit this quickly. So you mentioned the FOIA and trying to get cooperation on that. So Fox News has independently obtained new data on the number of gotaways sneaking into our nation.
Right.
Since 2010, 3 million. There were 1.6 million from 2021 to 2023. That's more than the 1.4 million in the entire decade between 2010 and 2020. One thing is not like the other. One thing was prior to Biden being president, and another lane of exploding numbers was after and during Biden being president, after his election and now. What is the difference that is putting us in this position?
Well, there's no question, Harrison. Thank you. I mean, you've been intrepid in making sure this information is available to the American people. Bill Melugin has done a fantastic job. We're going to press this information about the nationalities. But the gotaways is one of the key issues, because gotaways are the people who aren't seeking Border Patrol because they know they'll be released into the United States anyway. They're actually absconding and going around Border Patrol. These are the gotaways because they might be up to something. That's the actual issue. These are more dangerous people. These are people that we have concerns about. And that number has been spiking and skyrocketing. Yes. Why? Because the Biden administration has been abusing our laws with parole and asylum to release people into the United States, having Border Patrol process these people. No longer are they actually out on the lines policing our borders between the ports of entry. So now you can have untold numbers of gotaways pouring into the United States. Thus, the people in Kinney County have 6,700 crimes last year compared to 150 in 2021. It's night and day. The Biden administration is endangering us. We got to change the policies.
Now, that's just the most extreme, talking about Kinney County. But that is the situation all across Texas, all across Arizona, all across California, New Mexico, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, all along the southern states. Criminal alien criminality has spiked. And the Biden administration could seem to care less. They are sitting there talking about Republicans need to pass legislation. No, I'm sorry. They didn't pass legislation under Donald Trump, and he had pretty good control of that southern border. So don't buy into the narrative, folks. Don't just buy in to Biden's doing a great job. Bidenomics is working. No, his policies are garbage. His policies are destroying this country, and I don't know what else I can say to get it through these people's minds that Biden is no good for this country. Another 4 more years is going to destroy us even further. It's going to push us even more down the drain, and we need to turn this thing around. And if Biden continues to rule this country with his iron fist that he's doing, like I said, doesn't care about oversight, doesn't care about the Supreme Court. He's acting like there's only one branch of government. And you know what that sounds like to me? An authoritarian dictator, if you will. The only reason he's not an authoritarian dictator is because we do have some semblance of control over the Supreme Court. That's the only freaking reason, because there's a majority of sane people on the Supreme Court that are actually putting up a fight and stopping a lot of the Biden administration's rule proposals and policy changes and all this other stuff. They are actually trying to keep this country on track. But it can't be just the Supreme Court. Congress has no power right now because half of the Republicans don't care about their constituents. They're just wanting to line their own pockets by working with the lobbyists, working with the establishment to just allow all this to go on. Like Chip Roy said, Congress could absolutely halt the Biden administration. I've said it 1,000 times before. Congress is the most powerful institution in this country, but they don't wield the power that they have. They could absolutely shut down what Joe Biden is doing at that southern border. They could absolutely shut down anything that they want to. They control the flow of taxpayer dollars into the federal government. So they could shut that flow off. They could stop giving them money and force the Biden administration to comply with federal law. But they're not doing that, folks. That's why I always say, go to congress.gov, look up your congressman, and check their voting record. You will see that you probably don't agree with their voting record. And if you don't agree with their voting record, that means you shouldn't vote for them again. Find a candidate. Run for office yourself. Do something, for God's sakes. We need to change Congress. I believe. Let me know down in the comments if you feel the same way, that Congress is the root of the problem in this country. If we could clean up Congress, we could clean up the federal government, the federal bureaucracy, the deep state, all that good stuff, because Congress could shut off the tap, if you will, to the deep state and wring its neck and squeeze the life out of the deep state and force it to comply with the will of the American people. And I think I've went on for long enough on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, but y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. I'd love to hear your feedback. That's all I got. Thanks for watching again, and y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.